Good afternoon. This is James and Elisa. Thank you for taking out a few minutes to visit with us today. We wanted to visit with you about some changes that have happened regarding estate planning and getting documents notarized, is what we want to talk to you about today. We have a few slides prepared that kind of outline what we're talking about. We are going to post those on our Facebook page, the Rainy Facebook page, as soon as we're done visiting with you. So be sure to go to our webpage and check it out. While you're there, if you have not liked and followed us, please do so, because we will give regular updates for time to time on Facebook Live. And if you're following us and if you've liked the page, you'll get a notification of that without having to see it otherwise. So let's talk for a few minutes. Governor Abbott on April 8th issued an executive order that changed requirements for notaries when they go to notarize certain estate planning documents. Not all estate planning documents and not all documents that require a notary were affected. Only a few estate planning documents and probate documents are affected by this change. And essentially, the governor and the state of Texas have rules in place that control whether a notary must be present to notarize a person's signature. And the rules all say that yes, a notary has to be present to notarize someone's signature, has to see them sign, and has to identify them. But for certain documents that has been suspended, and a notary can identify someone by video conference and then notarize the document from a distance, not being present with them. And so that's what we're here to talk to you about today. And Elise is going to start going through what those documents are.
So the specific documents that are allowed to be notarized by video conference, and again, this is on a temporary basis, not a permanent change, but temporarily we can video conference notarize a self-proving affidavit for a will, also a durable power of attorney, a medical power of attorney, a directive to physicians, and also the oaths that we use in probates, guardianships, and such. So those are the specific documents that are allowed to be notarized by video conference under the current rules. The ones that are not included, deeds cannot be notarized by video conference. Trusts are not included, but in fact, trusts don't actually require a notary, even though we typically do that. Trusts can be signed without the notarization completely. And also, again, other documents that typically require a notarization are not covered by these changes unless they are specifically noted.
So how does the process look like? If we're doing a notary from distance by video, what does that look like? Well, the governor in his order says, and it only makes sense, is that you have to use a two-way technology. Both the notary and the person who's signing the document has to have some sort of video conference set up where they can actually video conference with each other and see each other, and the notary can see the person signing the document. There also has to be audio going back and forth at the same time between the signer and the notary. So it can't be just one way. It has to be going back and forth the other way. And so that's definitely got to be required. So the document can be delivered to the person signing them in advance, ready to be signed. Then they can video conference in with the notary, and the notary can observe the person signing the document. The person who signs the document would then have to transmit it back to the notary at that same time. The notary would stamp it and notarize it and sign it, all being observed by both parties at the same time. And then the notary would return it to the signer. All right. So all happening at the same time. All right. So it's a little bit cumbersome, but it has to be done that way. Also, the notary has to identify the signer. And so I think from we've talked about it, it seems to me probably the best way to do that would be to send color identification in advance to the notary, and then also have it and be able to hold it up to the camera at the time that the notary is actually notarizing and stamping your documents.
Right. We have certain recommendations that we're making to our clients as we use this type of technology. Specifically, again, the person signing the document has an original signed copy. Then they are transmitting an electronic copy of that to the notary. the notary notarizes it and then sends it back, we're recommending to our clients that they keep both the original copy with their signature. It doesn't have a notary on it, but it does have an original signature. And then again, the client will receive a notarized copy back from the notary. So we're recommending that they keep both the original signature and the copy of the notarized document. Also, we're recommending that clients keep a copy of the governor's order with their documents. Again, this is an interim order. It doesn't fit, this video conference process doesn't fit our usual notary rules. So in anticipation of future questions about whether a notarization was done properly, we recommend to clients that they keep a copy of the governor's order with their documents that were signed in this way. Also, in an effort to prevent future confusion and trouble with these documents, we do recommend that once the restrictions lift and people can get out and about and in front of a notary in person, that they re-execute their documents. And we're making provisions for that here at Rainey and Rainey for clients who are signing remotely to later come in and do that in person.
All right, so remember, it has to be done with two-way audio, two-way video. You've got to have that ability in advance. So you can certainly be at home or in your office isolated to get these documents notarized. It's just that you got to have the technology set up ahead of time. And it could be something as easy as having an iPhone with a scanning app on it, and you can just scan the document and email it back to our office. If, for example, if we were doing the execution and the notary here at our office for you by video. So there are apps on your Apple iPhone that would work very well for that. And whoever's doing the notary with you could probably walk you through some other steps. But we have other ways to help you make sure you can get the document transmitted to you and back to us if our notary is doing it for you. Also, a couple very important things to understand. There is a separate online notary process that is different than this. It requires a certified online notary. It requires electronic signature or digital signature. It requires a special verification process, and it costs a fair amount to do it that way. That is separate and different from what's been authorized by the governor for these limited estate planning documents at this time. Also, if you have to have witnesses on your estate planning document, like a will, your witnesses still have to be present with you when you sign your will. They can't be doing it by video. They are required to be located with you, watching you sign it, and they also have to sign the will while they're present with you. If they do it by video, that is not a valid will and could be challenged later by somebody very easily. So be mindful of that, okay?
And with the witnessing of the will, again, these rules just change the rules for notarization, not for witnessing. But in these times when I know people are trying to be safe and keep a distance, people can witness through the window. They can witness from a distance as long as they are in the conscious presence of the person signing the document, and likewise the person signing it can see the witnesses there, then that should be sufficient to meet that witnessing requirement. But again, seeing them on the phone, having witnesses remotely does not work. That will not suffice, and that is not changed by these rules.
And if any lawyer tells you differently, you need to really question what they're telling you, okay? Because I have heard a couple of lawyers say you can do it by video, but that is not correct. So really be mindful of that. This is a nice change, and it's a temporary change, like Elisa said. This will allow certain individuals to get power of attorneys, if nothing else, signed at home without having to leave the home, and allow children and family members to help them while they isolate at home and try to stay away from people under the circumstances. It also allows us to keep the social distancing, and it can be convenient. So there are definite benefits under these circumstances, but like Elisa said earlier, once the order is lifted by the governor, this goes away, and we probably want to update the documents right away to a traditional notary. Is probably what we want to do.
And just to be clear, that when the restrictions lift, it's not going to make these notarizations invalid. They will continue to be valid. We're just concerned that questions will be raised down the road about whether at the time the document was signed by video conference notary, it was valid, it was permitted at that time. So we just think that it's safer to have the documents re-signed after the restrictions lift. Again, we have slides for these materials, and we think they would be helpful in you making sense of how you can use these tools for your own estate planning. We are going to post those slides on our Facebook page, so please look back for that if you have an interest in those slides. Also, again, if you want advance notice of our future webcasts, we do have webinars and also Facebook Live events like that. Please like our Facebook page or follow us, and you'll get notice of those opportunities.
Also, we have a newsletter. I think that probably a lot of you are watching get. If you don't get our newsletter, it goes out once a month. We make announcements like this in our newsletter, update people with any important changes in the law. We send an email to people on our list. So it's not used for spam or advertising. It's used to notify clients of our newsletter and of important changes. So if you're not on our list, please call or email marketing@raineyandraney.com, marketing@raineyandraney.com, and just tell us you'd like to be added to our email list for the newsletter and announcements, and we'll get you on that list as well. We appreciate you guys.
Stay safe.
All right.